Hello, I'm Coby's brain, and welcome to the Metaverse's first and favorite late-night variety show, Coby's Brain. Give it up for our very own band, Ron Roach and the Alien Gang. Aren't they fantastic? And don't forget to give it up for my dim-witted assistant, Coby's Body. Without me, he is dumb as shit, but he dances, so that's cool. We have a great show for you tonight, and even have a special guest, the talented Luh Kee, who will be performing his latest single, Chicken Pot Pie. But first, a message from this episode's sponsor, Huel. So I reached out to Huel to sponsor this episode, but I didn't get a response, so technically they're not actually sponsoring the episode, but I love the product so much that I'm going to talk about it anyways. And Huel, that's a free shout out, which is actually way more authentic and probably worth way more money. So hopefully you pay me back later. That would be great, Huel. Anyways, Huel is a convenient, healthy, environmentally friendly, inexpensive alternative to eating traditional food. It comes in countless delicious flavors, is completely vegan, and couldn't be easier to make. All you gotta do is add water. Coby's Body eats Huel for nearly every meal, and look at him. He's doing great. Dumb as shit, but great. So anyways, buy Huel, assuming they end up paying me for this ad, which hopefully they will. If not, yeah, you don't have to buy Huel. And if you or your company are interested in sponsoring the next episode of Coby's Brain, please reach out to cobysbrain@gmail.com. Yeah, so on that note, let's get started with this episode, beginning with Coby's thoughts. Thought number one is about World War III. So apparently Russia wants to invade Ukraine, which is, yeah, it's not super chill. It's so unchill, in fact, that it could result in us having to go to war with Russia about it. And I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. I don't want to go to war. And maybe I've been in California too long, but doesn't seem like any of my mid-20s peers want to do that either. And even if they do, they're certainly not equipped for it. Today's war-aged Americans are more concerned with nailing the latest TikTok dance trend than they are with getting shot marching through the frigid Eastern European tundra. The latter is really just a reality that's just a little bit beyond most of us at this point. And frankly, it should be. In 2022, I kind of thought that the whole countries invading other country thing was done. That wasn't something that we still did. The need to be larger just comes off as being insecure, Russia. And take it from me, if insecurity is truly the problem, being bigger isn't going to solve it. The solution must come from within. So Putin, please don't invade Ukraine. There are more productive, fun things to do in 2022, like watching Coby's Brain or advertising on it. Or I suppose you could capitalize on the fact that most Americans today no longer have going to battle at the forefront of our minds and take over the whole world. I don't know. I guess you could do whatever you want. However, Putin, Coby's Brain implores you to choose not invading Ukraine, because if I have to cancel my summer plans because I got drafted to go to war in Eastern Europe, that's just going to be a huge bummer. Next up, we are going to talk about my next thought, which is regarding the Winter Olympics during COVID. So yeah, crazy times. This pandemic is crazy, and yeah, as if the prospect of war with Russia wasn't crazy enough, the pandemic is still going strong. And this is especially crazy right now because the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics are going on, and COVID is really complicating that. Athletes are getting COVID and being forced to quarantine, and they're missing the events that they've trained for their whole lives. It's very sad. So the question emerges, can the Winter Olympics be done remotely? If this pandemic has taught us one thing, it's how effective doing things over Zoom can be. So bear with me. I know this sounds ridiculous, but I was recently looking at ski and snowboard simulators, and they're very compelling. So it is technically a video game, but it so closely mimics these activities that determining the best skier in the world could theoretically be done on one of these machines, assuming they keep getting better and better, the machines, that is. So it brings up an interesting question. At what point are video games going to be legitimate forms of athletic competition, not just esports competition, but legitimate physical athleticism done in a virtual world? At what point are we going to start considering that real sports? The answer, unfortunately, is probably that we're going to have to sooner rather than later, because at least with these specific sports, the planet's getting hotter and hotter. Who knows how much longer we're going to have snowy mountains for? I hope we have them forever. I really do. But we don't really know. We don't really know what to expect at this rate. And it's an interesting question. Yeah, will we ever reach a day when physical sports become obsolete and are replaced by simulated physical sports? The answer is I don't really know, but crazier things have happened. So on the topic of sports, that brings us to my next thought, which is regarding the 2022 Super Bowl, which is happening here in Southern California in less than a week. It's going to be taking place at SoFi Stadium, and this thought / segment is less of a potentially controversial take and more of just me telling you that I think the screen at SoFi Stadium is really cool. Look at this thing. Like, look at that. That's ridiculous. That's so cool. So I haven't been to SoFi Stadium, but this screen brings up an interesting question. Why watch the game when you can just look at the giant screen? You can see what's happening in the game in much greater detail. You can see player stats. You can see slow motion replays. It's great. And honestly, this is probably testable, and I would hypothesize that during the Super Bowl at SoFi Stadium, people's eyes will be spending more time looking at the giant screen than they will be than the eyes will be looking at the actual field itself. So, if people are sufficiently entertained by this, it brings up another question. Why even have the game taking place on the field? Coaches could theoretically just play Madden or some kind of advanced football simulation on this giant screen and entertain people in the stadium watching the screen just the same. No concussions, no CTE, no other injuries to the players, just pure American entertainment. And all the money the NFL could save by not actually having football games could allow them to build these cool giant monitors in all of the NFL stadiums out there. So yeah, I don't know. That's just an idea, NFL. So you can take it or leave it, but be mindful, if you don't take it, someone else might. Okay, we are now going to transition to many people's favorite part of the show, Coby's content consumption. Oh, hold on. My mom's actually calling me right now. So I gotta take it. Hey mom, what's up? What's going on?
Hey, Coby's brain?
Yeah, this is Coby's brain. What's up, mom?
How you doing? How's everything?
Everything's good. Everything's good. I'm kind of in the middle of recording this show right now. What's going on?
Well, I want to make sure Coby's body is getting nutrition. He's looking a little thin. Please get something to eat, okay?
I will. I can do that, no problem. As soon as this show is over, I just gotta finish this real quick.
Well, Coby's brain, let his body take a 1 minute quick break. At least go get mix up a little Huel.
Oh. Oh, actually, that's actually not a bad idea. We probably have time for that, actually. It's very easy and convenient, thanks to Huel, to do that.
Healthy body, healthy brain.
Very true.
Very true. All right, Mom, I got to get back to this show, but thanks for calling. Love you. We'll talk soon.
Talk later. Love you.
All right, bye, Mom.
Bye.
So if you haven't figured it out by now, that was just a bit. My mom didn't actually call me, but that is an example of how far and how high quality of an advertisement you can get here on Coby's Brain. So if that doesn't get you to want to advertise on this show, I don't know what will. Remember, you can request ad space on a future episode by emailing cobysbrain@gmail.com, but beware, these spots are filling fast, so act now. Okay, great. We're back. We can now really go on to discuss Coby's content consumption, where we are going to be talking about the new content that Coby has been putting inside of me. I should probably figure out a better way to word that, but you know what I mean. First up, we have the November 2021 movie that recently came out, Licorice Pizza. Licorice Pizza is a comedy drama about an unlikely romance between a precocious 15-year-old boy and a 25-year-old woman in 1970s LA. Now, before you assume that this potentially pedophilic central narrative made the film bad, think again. It was nostalgic, really well made, and in my opinion, just a generally beautiful film. However, it's probably necessary to address the pedophilia aspect briefly. Is the relationship between Gary and Alana problematic? The answer, probably. Personally, I think the movie would have been just as good, if not better, had their relationship remained platonic to the end, which it pretty much did up until the very, very end. On the other hand, I was a 15-year-old boy once, and if there's one thing I can remember about being 15, it was having crushes on 25-year-old girls. Obviously, it never worked out with any of them, which is definitely for the best, but I guess for boys with memories like that, the film might feel especially relatable and nostalgic. On the other hand, 15-year-old boys have crushes on just about everyone and everything, and they don't often know what's best for them, so perhaps the actualization of one of these statutory relationships is not good. This is an argument that really could go on endlessly, but I think it actually hints at a deeper argument, which is that moral blemishes do not necessarily correlate to aesthetic blemishes. In fact, Plato argued that the best art is actually morally problematic art. But that is all that aside, I loved this movie, and I gave it an 8.5 out of 10, which is a silver Coby coin for Paul Thomas Anderson's Licorice Pizza. Congratulations. Next up, we are going to be talking about the December 2021 film, Spider-Man: No Way Home. So Spider-Man: No Way Home is the latest Marvel movie, and it was quite eventful. I'll inevitably get into spoilers here, but I don't feel bad about it, because if you haven't gotten around to seeing this truly historic film, yet somehow you have time to watch this dumbass show, I don't know what to tell you. It brought so much existing IP together for the purpose of satisfying fans, and really epitomized what today's movie-going audience wants, for better or for worse. And this is really reflected in the fact that it grossed almost $1.8 billion so far, which, considering the fact that we're in the middle of a pandemic, is freaking crazy. It was touching and poignant at numerous points, and the introduction of the multiverse into the Marvel Cinematic Universe is going to set up infinite new stories for Marvel. Possibly too many. But I loved the integration of Sony IP, and I thought that was really fun. Long story short, I love this movie. I'm giving it a 9.1 out of 10, which means it is earning the coveted gold Coby coin. Congratulations, Spider-Man. Okay, next up, we have the January 2022 horror film, Scream. Scream is the 5th movie in the Scream franchise. And if you don't already know about the Scream franchise, they're influential slasher films that are perhaps most notable for that ghost face and also for frequently referencing other horror films and tropes from other horror films, which is kind of cool. And I really did appreciate that this film paid a lot of homage to the original one, which was a great movie, undeniably. And so that was cool. And the excessive graphic violence was some of the most extreme I've ever seen in a movie. So I guess that was impressive. However, the thing that always annoys me about these Scream movies is that the motive of the killers is always so stupid. And this movie was certainly no exception. Although I really did appreciate how much of a homage it played to the original, and I did also appreciate the gratuitous violence. Ultimately, I did not like the new Scream movie, and am giving it a 7.3 out of 10, which means it receives the dreaded wooded Coby coin that films that receive less than a 7.5 get. Sorry, Scream. That said, 7.3 is pretty close to a 7.5, and I like any movie that's a 7.5 or higher, so it wasn't that bad. Next up, we have the February 2022 movie, which actually just came out this past weekend, Jackass Forever. Jackass Forever is the 4th main feature film of the reality slapstick franchise, Jackass. So I grew up watching Johnny Knoxville and his jackass friends inflict pain and suffering upon themselves and one another for the laughter of an audience. So I was ready for this. But yeah, I hadn't seen anything. I didn't know that they were still making these. So I was curious. Admittedly, I expected and almost hoped that I would be unamused by the juvenile pranks and antics of the film. But I have to admit I laughed pretty darn hard throughout this film. One cannot deny that Jackass is a unique cultural phenomenon, and the fact that it finds its way onto the big screen time and time again is pretty fascinating. Watching it, I couldn't help but view the Jackass institution as a bit of a cult of personality led by Johnny Knoxville. You know, they have their Jackass tattoos, and somehow these people continuously agree to participate in these terrible situations that Knoxville puts them through. Personally, I would probably stop hanging out with Johnny Knoxville myself after enough of these. But he seems to have some kind of charismatic spell over the Jackass cast members. Like if Johnny Knoxville called me to come hang out and I was one of the cast members, I would probably want to set some boundaries. I'd probably say, hey, Johnny, you're my friend, but the last time we hung out, you hired that heavyweight boxer to punch me in the dick as hard as he could. So I didn't really enjoy that. I'll probably just stay home tonight. Yeah, I think the members of the cast could probably benefit from some kind of boundaries like this. But then again, they're probably getting paid a bunch of money, so I don't know. Ultimately, in spite of the children that will likely perish attempting to recreate these stunts, I really enjoyed this film and am giving it a 7.6 out of 10, a bronze Coby coin. And if you are interested in purchasing any of the Coby coins you saw on today's show as NFTs, please contact cobysbrain@gmail.com to be added to the mailing list for upcoming Coby coin auctions. I truly cannot think of a better use of your hard-earned money than the purchase of these beautiful Coby coins. Next up, we have a very special treat for you. We have the one, the only, Lucky Bee. So, I know you pretty well, Lucky Bee, but our audience might not. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, that's a great way to get started. Yeah, I'm a local artist, musician, singer, rapper, painter, NBA basketball player. Do a little bit of it all, but music is the kind of thing that ties it all together, and been doing it ever since I was a little kid. But just these past couple of weeks, we're finally getting it all out there in the world, and just put out my first song on Spotify and all that recently, like a week ago, and it's an exciting time.
So I'm glad you brought up that song, actually. Your latest song is called Chicken Pot Pie. Tell us about this song and what inspired it.
That's a great question. Well, Chicken Pot Pie is it's a very important song to me. Very it has many layers. You have the crust, and then you have the the good stuff inside, but you gotta unpack all of it. And so I wrote it a few years ago. Back I was in school, and we were having fun with some friends, and I cooked up this beat, and we were just vibing on it, and then it just kind of came, Chicken Pot Pie. And at the time there was this girl, and she kind of might have broken my heart a little bit, and I was just thinking, I got to get her back, and what's more enticing than a chicken pot pie to lure her back. Unfortunately, it hasn't it didn't quite pan out, but it did pan out in the oven with chicken pot pie.
True, and a great song.
Hey, beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
So, what's next for you, Lucky B? More singles, maybe an album?
Both great options, and in fact, I think both are on the deck. We have another single coming out pretty soon, and we'll see. And there's an album around the corner, and I'm not quite ready to drop the name of it yet. Keep the listeners a little in suspense, but it's gonna be a good one. And we wrote most of it during the pandemic, during 2020, and kind of weird, crazy times, and that reflects in the album, some weird, crazy vibes. But like Chicken Pot Pie, you always gotta circle back and try and make it catchy, and so we'll see how it goes. But it's a exciting time to be Lucky B.
Yeah. Well, we are beyond excited, and I know that Coby's Brain and the listeners and viewers of Coby's Brain are very stoked for future projects. But in the meantime, future Lucky B projects. But in the meantime, we have a huge privilege here on Coby's Brain. Lucky B will now be performing his new single, Chicken Pot Pie, live here on Coby's Brain.
Let's get it.
Oh, when you're feeling down, come by. We can make some chicken pot pie. Oh, and if you're busy, I'm on standby. Oh, just sit here, drip dry, waiting for you. Thinking about the days when you thought I was a good guy. I was just blazed, trying not to get my tongue tied. You can paraphrase on my reference, hit the when you're feeling down, come by. Oh, we can make some chicken pot pie. Oh, and if you're busy, I'm on standby. Oh, just sit here, cause you gotta start looking so cute. How I'm feeling, need somebody new. They just won't do it like you do. Oh, no, so I just sit here with my mind all hazy. Yeah, all my love's gone away. Shit, what I don't know. it's all on me. But babe, I'ma try real hard now. Now we in the key, just taking it for a ride. And my fingertips are pressed up real deep into your thigh. With my hand up on the wheel, clock at 12 at night. Yeah, I be doing it like the first day we met. Hit rewind and ayo, that's why you know you can always come by. Oh yeah, we make some chicken pot pie. Eat it on the porch with some beat on, that's a good night. Nothing else matters when you're sitting by my side. Oh, when you're feeling down, come by. Oh, we can make some chicken pot pie. Oh, and if you're busy, I'ma stand by. Oh, just sit here. Oh, when you're feeling down, come by. Oh, we can make some chicken pot pie. Oh, and if you're busy, I'ma stand by. Oh, just sit here. Whoa.
Thank you, Lucky B, and thanks to you all for watching. Next episode is March 7th. See you next time on Coby's Brain.